Come and dream with me.
Hello, welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every week we get together to talk about movies, TV, and online content and help you answer the question, if Christopher Nolan loves the Fast and Furious films, does that make him peak cinema? I think so. I'm your host, Ash Helbley. Join me today, Dylan Blight.
It's just nice to know that he's a man of taste, you know.
You know, he is a man who loves family. Yeah. Do you reckon that now that we know that he's a big Fast and Furious fan, do you think there's a chance he's listened to It's About Family?
There is a chance because it's definitely one of the most popular Fast and Furious podcasts out there. So, but I don't know if you listen to podcasts. That's the only thing. Like, if we find that out, then we know for sure.
So, people, while he's still on the press tour in the lead up to the Oscars, ask if you listen to the podcast, please. Okay. We need to know. On today's episode, we'll be talking about watching our watch history, going over some film news, giving some thumbs to the trailers, and going over this week's top 3. Light week on the watch history. Busy week, haven't watched much. No, and we kind of suspected that because there was nothing coming out in the cinemas this week that we particularly wanted to watch. But Dylan, you rewatched The Marvels, which just released on Disney Plus.
I did. I enjoyed it still. I still think like the villains are let down and everything else like that. But like in a world where Marvel in general, I think their films like the last 12 months or 18, 2 years, whatever, been pretty mixed bag. I think most of what's in that is good. Like, or at least has the potential to be good. Like that first fight scene, again, rewatching it, where it's just like bouncing around a lot between the locations. That is probably one of the best, most inventive fight scenes they've done in so many years. And yeah, we've talked about how Aman's like such a big fresh air for the franchise and whatever else. And then even by you get to the end and she like goes and finds Kate Bishop, like that's exciting. Like just seeing like that is the current where I'm feeling. What do I get excited about for Marvel? I would say the Young Avengers side of stuff is currently what's doing it for me, I guess.
Absolutely. All right. So on Disney Plus, I watched a small limited series, I guess, called Science Fair. It originally went on National Geographic over in the States, which follows a bunch of teenagers preparing for the International Science and Engineering Fair. So it's an interesting look at this subset of kids who are really devoted to science, and this going to this International Science Fair is like a massive deal. It's like obviously there's cash prizes and that kind of stuff, but like obviously if you're a participant, you know it increases your odds of going to the college of your choice, and you know because a lot of colleges go there to scout potential students for different research grants and that kind of stuff. So like it follows a bunch of different students from different places around the world. There's a kid from Zimbabwe whose project is about making a different type of fuel based on reed plants instead of sugarcane for ethanol. You've got some kids in Puerto Rico who are working on a project that like detects if a wound it has increased chance of infection and that kind of stuff. And then you've got this program at a school called I think it's Jericho College in New Jersey. It's like really hardcore class who, you know, all devoted to science, and like the teacher is like super invested in getting these kids to ISIF and that kind of stuff. Really interesting documentary. Also inspiring just seeing all these kids like super invested in these scientific endeavors and like in a wide range of different categories. There's like one kid who's like doing a bunch of research into teen suicide rates and that kind of stuff, and like how to prevention and that kind of thing. But her issue is like she's got a really smiley personality. She's talking to presenters with a big smile on her face, super excited about her research, but she's talking about teen suicide. So it's kind of she just can't help herself. yeah, it's really interesting. There's like, of course, like heartbreaking moments of these kids realizing they're not going to go to ISF. It is really bad because like it's only like the first place people in some of these competitions who get to go. So this kid has won second place amongst all these other children, but he's on the verge of tears because he can't go to the big international science fair.
Only one winner.
Only one
learn.
place.
There's
You know?
one winner and 16 losers, kid.
No, it's true. Not everybody there's not participation room for everybody. But yeah, really inspiring, and that all these kids are kind of tackling these scientific endeavors in different ways and like trying to better our future. A bunch of like cool ideas and like exploration of different stuff. So only 3 episodes long. Definitely recommend checking that out. All right, so Dylan, you watched the AACTA Awards.
Yes, I watched the full AACTA Awards. First time it was shown on normal Australian television, like streamed for easy access. It was a very good show. I enjoyed it. It's just obviously the Australian Film and TV Awards. They didn't do them all on here. They did the technical awards the night before. They gave a shout out like in some clips, quickly, like, hey, you missed these or whatever else. But Rebel Wilson hosted it. She was quite good. Everyone else that came on the stage was either funny or heartfelt. Like there was a big heartfelt moment for I can't remember his name, but Jacques from MasterChef. Obviously, he died in the last year. So they won for best reality show, and his wife was up there co-accepting the award with the rest of the people. So that was a heartfelt moment. And some funny stuff. Colin from Accounts won a couple of times. That was very good. The stars of that, which they're married in real life, and they were also nominated in the same category together, so they made a funny bit about that. And then Tom Gleeson also did a quite funny bit where he did the best comedy actor award, like for the readout, and it's like I think it was like whatever it was, like 5 girls and 1 guy. And he goes, hey, good luck to you. And he starts reading it out. He's like, I just say, I appreciate, just shout out to men. And he's like, and then he does a bit where he's like, I watched Barbie, don't know what the message was. Please be a man, please be a man, please be a man. So there was quite a few funny bits in there. Margot Robbie was there. She got like I can't remember
Trailblazer Award, I believe.
Yeah, it's like an honorary like sort of award. She also won best actress for Barbie.
A little bit biased, the actor.
Yeah, I know.
Actor voting board. I don't know if people have noticed that. Like, anytime they've got the International Actor Awards, there's always at least one Australian in every category.
Kate Blanchett did her introduction in this big dress-up piece with a bow and called herself, I can't remember, like
middle-aged Barbie.
Middle-aged Barbie, which is quite good. That was a good part. Raka Raka, when they won Best Directors, just kept swearing accidentally, and I'd walk up to the mic, and I shared the clip on the Explosion Network Twitter, Instagram. It was quite funny, just them coming up. Hey, they're like everyone else is in suits and dresses, one of they're just like t-shirts. Like just come up and they're like, so I just want to say, oh fuck, and he's like shit, and then it switches off and he's like, oh no, I'll do it. Oh shit, no, you do it. No, fuck. So that was just very wholesome to see them win that. And then they won Talk to Me won best film as well. Luckily they didn't do the speech for that one. They just left it to the
left to the producer.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but Causeway Films, that she, I feel like it starts with J, but she did the speech for that and just spoke about like how great it has been with the cast and everyone working with it and the success, and like how great it has been for Australian film to see that do so well and stuff. So really good show. I really enjoyed it. It was a good award show to watch, I think.
All right, so now I'm going to talk about some anime. I haven't been talking about much so far, so I don't know if you do need a rest, but you can take a rest. I've been watching Mashle, Magic and Muscles. So this is an anime set in like a magical world where everybody's got magical abilities, and people who don't have magic are kind of segregated and treated lesser than and that kind of stuff. So this man has been raising this child called Mashle in the forest, and to ensure that he can survive in a world full of magic, he's been training to improve his muscles, so he ends up becoming like super, super, super ridiculously strong. And after he has been revealed to be not a magic user. He gets blackmailed into joining a school, a magic school, so he can become the top student and make a bunch of money, so the blackmailer can get all the money. It's a very weird setup. But it pretty much, a person who doesn't have magic is sent to a magic school, which is very much a satire of another magical property with a school. And how he uses his incredible strength to mask his inability to perform magic. It's fun. It's ridiculous at times. There is a lesson where they're all trying to learn how to fly their brooms. And, obviously he can't use magic to fly a broom. So what he does is he throws the broom really fast, and he jumps even faster, lands on the broom, and it looks like he flew a certain distance because I mean, it gets more ridiculous than that. It's very funny satire. It's very enjoyable at the beginning. It then turns into every kid at the school wants to get into duels. So then it just becomes a bunch of fight scenes, which is interesting. It was a little bit more fun when it was just like satire on the idea of a magical school. But it's dumb, fun, and nobody involved, as far as I'm aware, is super transphobic. So it's property we can all watch. Then I've also been watching an anime called Shangri-La Frontier. So this another silly concept anime. So it's set in a world in which highly advanced VR technology is there. So lots of people go into video games with completely like it's another real world. So there's this gamer who goes by the gamer tag Sunraku, who prefers to play shitty video games. That's his thing. He likes to conquer trash video games because they're filled with bugs and much harder to conquer because they're shitty. But he gets talked into playing the number one video game in the world, Shangri-La, and because of his skills from playing shitty video games, he is incredibly skilled in this video game to start off with, because he's able to detect hitboxes and stuff that better and that kind of stuff. Ridiculous, video game, kind of fun, bunch of side quests, really interesting worlds. Yeah, it's a good time. So those are two animes we're watching and recommend checking out. All right, let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. And I watched Orion and The Dark, which is the Charlie Kaufman written children animated film about a kid who is afraid of everything and gets visited by the embodiment of the dark to try and help him overcome all his fears. It's pretty good, It is a Charlie Kaufman film. It's written a Charlie Kaufman way. It's very meta. There's layers of storytelling to it. It's also I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know exactly who the target audience for this film is. Whether it is, I think it's a film for parents and children to watch together, and the parents get a lot of the references and jokes and meaning of the thing, and probably get more out of it than the kids, and the kids will just watch it because it's a story of a animated story. But there's
Kids
a lot
are idiots, and they'll watch anything that's animated.
That's true. But it's quite very amusing. I mean, the thing that got me to laugh the most is so during the night there's a bunch of embodiments of other elements. So there's dark, obviously, but then there's an embodiment of sweet dreams. There's sleep, unexplained noises, insomnia, and quiet. And sleep. Orion watches sleep go about her business every night. She pulls out of her cap a pillow and smothers someone to sleep, and she pulls out pulls out some chloroform and puts somebody to sleep. And there's a scene of her looking over a baby. She pulls out a sleep hammer.
It's very kid friendly.
It's very kid friendly, is what I'm saying. But then there's this element. There's also halfway, like, I don't know, maybe a quarter the way through, it reveals there's a framing device of the story is being told by a father to a daughter, and using the story of Orion to like try and help her overcome her fears of, of the dark and trying to get to sleep and that kind of stuff. And then it kind of becomes a story about storytelling and like of telling children's stories and like what works for children's stories and what elements are important and that kind of stuff. Yeah, very surprisingly layered. I mean, it's not the most beautiful animated film. I don't like a lot of the character models are like fine, a lot of like the landscapes and that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of imagery of like the dark going across like a light sky, and that looks really cool. But I don't think it's like the most visually impressive. But I think it really works for what it wants to do and what it wants to be. Really interesting film. So I would recommend checking that out, whether you have children or not. We're all a child once. And then the other thing I watched on Netflix this week was Lover, Stalker, Killer, which apparently is like the number one film on Netflix at the moment. It was a documentary. It's about a divorced mechanic who tries online dating in this small town, Nebraska. He meets a woman. He's like, I'm not really looking to be tied down. I want to, just want something casual, not want to be exclusive or anything. So then he meets another woman, and then after she says she wants to move in with him, he starts getting harassed by her. Like terrible, she breaks up, starts sending a bunch of terrible, threatening messages. She starts, texting him like his location where he's at all the time. Starts making threats against the other woman that he was dating and that kind of stuff. Starts keying his car, and it kind of escalates from that and becomes like a much bigger story. Interesting documentary. I think, again, this is one of those documentaries where you're like, I can kind of see where the twist is of this documentary and what will make it, a story worth telling. I think, especially when it's a real life story, you can probably just look up who's behind it, all the people. But it's framed fine, I guess. If you're not looking to figure out what the story is, I think it probably works as a twist. But yeah, obviously, interesting story, interesting characters. A lot of the detectives clearly invested in trying to figure out the mystery of the story and that kind of stuff, and like they have to go hard to try and get justice for this family and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I can understand why this kind of hit. It's kind of an odd story. So, yes, check that out on Netflix. And Dylan, you like me have started watching the 8th season of Queer Eye. It's crazy. 8 seasons.
I know it doesn't feel like 8 seasons, to be honest, but I don't know. Maybe they just like you just watch it. It's become part of life. I don't really think about seasonal structure of the show. I watched 2.
2, yes.
Yeah. Still good. The first one, they usually start on like I feel like a light one every season, but this one that has a dude like they start with a crying episode, so like a big breakdown sort of thing, and then the second one was really good as well. This dude who's like looking after his brother who's been in a massive accident, and he's been carrying him for ages, and he's obsessed with Kiss, and that was quite funny. But yeah, so yeah, but I mean, it's not much. It's still Queer Eye. It's still good. I don't. The formula hasn't changed at all. It should be this. I believe is the last season with Bobby because he's not.
Yeah.
He isn't signed back on.
No.
But yeah, like 2 episodes in, still good.
He's tired of carrying the rest of the team.
Fair.
Yeah, I watched episode 3. And spoilers, I guess, for you. He has to. He has to renovate a Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans sweet shop.
Right.
So, and Karamo, he's like, hey, I'm going to take you to a building for a surprise party. That's my bit this week.
Some weeks it is like, fuck, what do I do?
You know, I guess
Get it.
that that's helpful for Bobby. He's like, I guess I'm going to do a bunch of work. This week it's going to be definitely a bunch of stuff and contractors and that kind of stuff. You know what you're going to do.
Mm.
Tan is like, I'm going to just buy a bunch of clothes. Everybody else is like kind of in the weeds. What's it going to be this week?
Person's bald. Fuck.
They got facial hair.
JVN's like, fuck. What am I supposed to do?
All right. That's everything in our watch history. Let's move into a little bit of film news. This was an interesting one. So obviously, sometime last year, it had been rumored that Netflix was looking into a potential US remake of the mega hit Squid Game. And Jeff Snow at the time reported that David Fincher was desperately wanted to tackle the project. It's now been revealed that apparently David Fincher has been quietly working on the project, and it's most likely going to happen.
Cool, I hate it.
Of all the people who could potentially tackle a remake of Squid Game, I mean, Fincher is an interesting choice.
Yeah, no, it's not like,
and he would make it something different.
Yeah, I like David Fincher and all, but I'm like, Squid Game literally came out 2 years ago, and it was a massive global phenomenon. It's not like you can even argue that. Well, I'm trying to bring it to to an international audience, to American eyes. Everyone watched it. It was massive worldwide. It wasn't just massive in one country or two country. So it just seems a bit pointless.
I mean, yes. It's absolutely to a certain extent a money grab. It's like, hey, everybody loves the Korean version. Let's do an American version, and then we can get double the audience.
Yeah, everyone loves a thing. Let's just do it again.
Let's do a thing, except they don't have to read this time. I mean, they've already cashed in on the TV reality series where they're playing all the games. So yeah. I think it's interesting because obviously Fincher tackling it would potentially go in a much darker, grimier direction, where it's maybe the games involved are not as fun and quirky. Squid Game is actually Saw.
I feel like the games is like the least, like, it's like whatever. It's just the general message around the show, but which fuck it, I'll change them. No one understands the message of the show anyways. Who cares? Whatever.
Yeah.
Remake it. Whatever.
They don't understand it because it's not an American context. It's like we're pulling people who can't pay for their medical bills because there's no healthcare in America into playing in these Squid Games. Or it just turns out that the guy running it is Mr. Beast the entire time.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I feel like within the confines of America, they'll just, like, to most people, is that thing of like they'll make the show and they'll turn it into like, man, the message won't be.
The twist is the American twist is it isn't actually a secret. It's like it's fully funded thing. It's a known thing. Yeah,
well, it probably would be, and it probably would be run by someone like Mr. Beast. But the thing is also that is just weird to me is that I feel like most people will take it in a way of, man, I really wish something like this existed because I need this. Not, man, the fact that something like this needs to exist says a lot about society. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that's the problem. So yeah.
But I think Fincher could tackle that in an interesting way. Yeah.
Possibly. I still think it's dumb. I'm going to stand by it's dumb to remake it. Anything.
Well, I mean, the fact that a ton of people like misread The Killer and like, it's like, he's a complete idiot the entire time.
Yeah. And they're like, this movie's dumb. It doesn't make sense. He's a fucking idiot. Like, but it's like, yes.
Yeah.
Well done.
And the number of people who glorify Fight Club and that kind of stuff, this actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
When you look at it.
Fight Club's like bro dude's favorite movie, even though that's not the point.
It's about the terribleness of toxic masculinity.
Yeah. And toxic masculine males love it. So
yeah. update on the Coyote versus Acme story. And it looks like it's not going to have a happy ending.
Would you say
of
Cody
course-
versus Roman?
No, Coyote versus Acme.
Right, Coyote. Gotcha. Sorry.
Coyote. Yeah, sorry. You pronounce my words better.
Yeah.
So reading from Slash Film, remember that brief moment in November 2023 where we all thought Warner Brothers wasn't led by a soulless, money-hungry ghoul, but by human beings who could see reason and allow Coyote vs. Acme to be shopped to other studios rather than delete it from existence? Well, that didn't last long. In a damning report by The Wrap, it appears that David Vaslav, head of Warner Brothers Discovery and the eternal enemy of Animaniacs, has reversed course and decided no one should ever watch the film, even if other studios were willing to pay money for it. As producer Chris Tafara told The Wrap, they just want to get this behind them, referring to what he heard from a Warner Brothers executive in early January. They want to close the books. According to The Wrap, Warner Brothers won't even announce that they were unable to find a home for the film. Instead, they will unceremoniously delete it, never to be seen again. Of course, the thing is, there were plenty of offers for the film. Netflix, Amazon, and Paramount all reportedly offered to buy the film. Paramount even proposed a theatrical release. Warner Brothers rejected each of them. According to the report, Warner Brothers, who was set to make about $40 million from the tax write-off on Coyote vs. Acme, sought to not only make more than that, but insisted on covering negative cost plus whatever fees they incurred. The asking price was then about $75 to $80 million from a potential buyer, without the chance for a counter offer. Yeah, pretty.
He's an evil
man,
fucked up. And I
Yeah.
hope he loses everything and has to work in Walmart as the head of trolleys.
I think that's pretty mean to the head of trolleys at Walmart. Wouldn't want to inflict David Vaslav.
That's a good point. I hope he's put to the lowest form of trolley collector.
I think, yeah, it's just clearly a very disappointing story with what seems to be a very disappointing conclusion, unless Vaslav has a massive change of heart, or he dies, or is removed from his role, and somebody with a conscience is put into a position. It's crazy that they don't think that this movie could potentially make more than $40 million over the course of its run. I mean, especially with the fanfare and the word of mouth around it at this stage, everybody in the film industry, I think, has heard about this movie and would go see it. I think, based on a lot of the people who actually have seen it. I think I saw a tweet from the Daniels today saying, "Oh, I saw the movie. It's fantastic. Really works in every regard. Even hit the emotional ending. Even hits harder now with it. They're potentially going to shut the movie down. Just release it. Pretend this was all the massive marketing campaign." And you continue to see positive remarks from all the inside people who have been able to see a cut of the film. That it is disappointing that they've decided this clearly needs to be a loophole that gets shut down. That you can just write off a finished movie for a tax break. It is kind of ridiculous.
Basically finished as well. So
yeah, I think it is definitely something they need to look into. Because it seems like bullshit.
Yeah.
As several people pointed out, people rely on getting credits for that to maintain their visas,
jobs and stuff as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if it was, I don't know how much the movie actually cost to make. But even if you had just released, I reckon if you released it on premium video on demand, it would have made more than $40 million.
I think
of course,
this stage it definitely will. Because
at this stage, with all the talk around it, there's so much public interest around the movie.
Yeah. So now
it's hard to imagine it not making.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it was a bunch of no names, or it was completely animated movie. You had Will Forte and John Cena and a whole bunch of other people, known actors who would have gone press and
John Cena is a big carry, so
big enough carry to get this movie over the line. So very disappointing. Hopefully somebody's got it on a hard drive somewhere.
And backup.
Hopefully, well, we know that Batgirl is been deleted.
Wink, wink.
You know, but if someone can find those hard drives and like do some sort of data recovery, maybe one day.
I'll tell you what it does. It just makes you not want to get excited about any announced Warner Brothers thing ever.
I mean, the question is like, what is the impact? Like, it's interesting that on the back of this, like this today, like Margot Robbie's company is like her production company has signed a like first look deal with Warner Brothers. Of course, we had the contract with Tom Cruise a few weeks back with him signing a deal with Warner Brothers. Like, why would you want to get into with Warner Brothers at this point? You know,
I guess unless you believe you, which Tom Cruise,
unless you believe it will never happen to you, which is a mistake.
Yes and no. I feel like
when you see that these people are willing to take the tax break if it's on offer, if they think that's a better option, you know,
people would take to the streets if they did that to Margot Robbie, though.
I know, it just depends on the project. Well, I guess if she actually came out and said, "This fucked up, fuck Warner's," after all I've done for them, yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, but yeah, this is a very sad situation. This is an interesting one, and probably a good, more positive story to come out of this week. Following the success of Predator sequel Prey, or Predator prequel Prey, and they've described it correctly, rather than you being upset about it being called a spin-off last week. Predator prequel, writer-director Dan Trachtenberg is rolling out a whole new Predator franchise at 20th Century Studios. As first reported by The Hollywood Reporter, Trachtenberg is set to helm Badlands, a new Predator storyline set in the future featuring a female lead. Additionally, 20th Century Studios is reportedly planning a slew of Predator franchise projects with Trachtenberg overseeing. Trachtenberg and Patrick Eisen were behind the story for Badlands, with Eisen penning the screenplay. Trachtenberg will direct. Are you interested in a Predator film set in the future?
I'm interested in all Predator films if they are good, and I think that depends on how they take the success of Prey, because Prey's success is you don't make a Predator, you don't follow a Predator film template. It's, hey, here's an engaging setting, here's some engaging characters that here's a main lead who has a very a straightforward arc to become like a overcome, and the Predator is both a representation of what she's struggling to overcome in her life and also a literal thing she has to overcome during the film. That's the secret, right? You keep it simple. You put the Predator in. You can do a million of these. They'll always be exciting with different characters, locations, whatever time periods. That's the secret. You don't like set out to make a Predator film.
Yeah, you just add the Predator to a situation.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, as a long-time Dan Trachtenberg fan before he got big, when he was back doing the Totally Rad show, I mean, it was really cool to see him attached to a big franchise. But he has been attached to big franchises in the past, and he's been, screwed over. He was set to direct Uncharted and other projects in the past. So, hopefully, this one actually comes to fruition. This one actually gets released in cinemas. I think, that would be a different take. I don't know if they've exclusively said this is going to be a cinema thing, or maybe it's going to be, they're like, this was really successful on Hulu. Let's keep making movies for streaming with the Predator. I don't think that's probably likely to be their plan going forward. I would hope to see this on a big screen. So yeah. Interesting that they're talking about like a franchise of Predator films. I mean, that's just, hopeful optimism probably more than anything else. But, maybe Predator becomes a big franchise again on the back of this. Who knows? Interesting that it's also, well, at this stage called Badlands, and it's actually not like a title related to Predator in any way. Whether like, we'll just back the franchise to be known enough to that people will know that it's a Predator movie, even if Predator is not in the title.
Yeah, well, work for Prey.
Cut to 12 months from now, Badlands, a Predator film.
Yep. I hate it.
All right. So this was interesting. So last week it was rumored that David Leitch was set to be directing the new Jurassic World film. And then only a few days later, it was revealed that he had dropped out. So reading from the Hollywood Reporter's
They
Heat
brought up
Vision,
locusts.
he didn't want to do any locust
He was like,
related.
I'm out.
No, he said, so I'm reading from Heat Vision by the Hollywood Reporter. They say, what happened? Part of the problem is that Universal is so far along in the project that Leitch would essentially have been more of a shooter than someone who would have been put his stamp on the film. There's not enough time to work with new ideas, one source told them, which was said to have a script by David Korp and an ambitious July 2nd, 2025 release date. According to another source, the producers have already done some of the dino design work and soft prep on the movie. But we could see why the film was attractive to someone like Leitch in the first place. It was going to lean into the action territory. One source described it as having an escape from New York vibe, but a Universal insider said that was not true. Well, what about the idea of weaponized dinosaurs? The insider said no. Either way, Universal is looking for a new director as soon as possible. Yeah, that's interesting tidbits there about, obviously super ambitious to think that you're going to have not shot this movie and going to release it in 18 months time. That's getting delayed. There's no chance for a Jurassic World movie where there's a ton of CGI, unless you were like,
They got AI working on it, don't worry.
well, yeah, that, or you're crunching a bunch of CGI visual effects people. How would you feel about a more action orientated Jurassic World film?
No. I would like Jurassic Park World films to be thrillers. You can have some action in them, but when I just don't understand how, if you ask anyone to like name a scene from Jurassic Park, it's either going to be something to do with a tense scene with velociraptors, like hiding from them or something like that, or it's going to be the T-Rex scene. I just don't feel like it's like they're the two classic scenes. That's the core of the franchise.
Yeah.
And then you've got other ends of it, like the touching, the more like, oh my god, like the
wonder of dinosaurs,
the
being
wonder of
alive,
dinosaurs, yeah, and that's around it. But like there's the wonder of dinosaurs, then there's the horror of dinosaurs, right? There's no, yeah.
I mean, it could be interesting. I mean, if they kind of expand on the world set up in Jurassic World, where dinosaurs are released in the wild and living amongst humans and like trying to coexist, like that would be an interesting setup for an action movie. But the fact that a director is not heavily involved in the creation of the process doesn't bode well, in my opinion. But it's probably has more to do with like the state of the industry at the moment. Like, we've got an idea for a franchise, we need to put a movie out, we'll just get somebody to direct it. It'll probably be something like, I don't know, who did Fast 10? He'll come to shoot this movie.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting news this week. Moana is returning to the big screen. Disney on February 7th announced the surprise release of Moana 2, a sequel to the 2016 animated classic. The film will open wide in theaters November 27th. It's an animated feature and is separate from the live-action Moana film starring the original animated star Dwayne Johnson that remains in the works for a summer 2025 release. Bob Iger announced the news on CNBC ahead of the company's earnings call on Wednesday. Per an official Disney release, Moana 2 is another animated musical that takes place on an expansive new voyage with Moana, Maui, and a brand new crew of unlikely seafarers. After receiving an unexpected call from her wayfinding ancestors, Moana must journey to the far seas of Oceania and into long-lost waters for an adventure unlike anything she's faced, according to the official synopsis. The film is directed by Dave Derrick Jr. with music by Grammy winners Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, Grammy nominee Apata Fai, and 3-time Grammy winner Mark Messina. Interestingly, original songwriter Lin-Manuel Miranda is not coming back for the second film. And then the other interesting thing, obviously, this was set to be a Disney Plus series and has now kind of been reworked into a feature film. With all that information, how do you feel about Moana 2?
I think it's we're in a messy world where I think it's messy that you're getting animated sequels to original and live action remakes within a couple of years of each other of the first one.
That is a weird
with the
situation.
same cast and all these things. It's a lot.
I mean, the other wrinkle to this is that what was it? Moana also remains a mega hit on streaming. Though it's 7 years old, Nielsen reported that Moana was by a mile the number one most streamed movie of 2023, bringing in 11.6 billion viewing minutes within the year on Disney Plus, an all-time high among Nielsen rankings for movies. The next closest was Encanto, also on Disney Plus, which notched 9.7 billion minutes. So, I mean, people love Moana, and people have been watching Moana. So it makes a lot of sense to make another Moana movie. You know?
And also, The Rock just turned heel, so I don't know how they're going to promote this. Have we thought about that?
It's not out till November. He'll turn face by then. Yeah.
Okay, because the kids might be scared.
You don't think he's going to turn on Roman Reigns?
I don't know. Just saying.
And become a hit face again. It's just him, Cody, and Seth just beat him down.
Yeah, the fucking kids are seeing this stuff on the internet. They're like, the guy is there. Woohoo!
I don't want to get too inside baseball, but did you see that The Rock's responded to like someone, accusing him of withholding charity money as part of using footage from the press conference? No. And he's like, he broke down, like, just listen, I'm playing a character and I turned heel, like, on Twitter.
Really?
Yeah, like explaining, because he's accusing him of like some pretty despicable behavior of like hoarding charity money.
Someone who doesn't get wrestling.
No, someone who's like trying to spread misinformation about people and like paint him in a bad light. So we had to like very much point by point break it down. But yeah, interesting. I guess the turnaround is kind of the most interesting thing, that it's going to be end of this year. And really just being announced now, I guess. So yeah, I guess we'll wait and see how this one develops. Last story for this week is that...
Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, I was going to say, I just saw the video. So the guy has got the video from him being booed at the event. And
yes.
said it's for him demanding to go through for aid for Maui. But that's not what was happening at all.
No.
That's weird, right? Like, who is this weirdo? Anyway, continue. All right.
Yes.
It's got a Twitter note. This footage is from WrestleMania. It's not connected to that at all. What the fuck? All right. Anyway, yeah. All right. I'll block this.
I don't know if you've been on the internet, Dylan, but people twist stuff for their own personal interests.
I just don't trust anything I see anymore. And I think I feel like, I honestly feel like I definitely spend less time on the internet. I still spend a lot of time like on the internet, but I definitely feel like I spend less since Elon Musk, because Twitter's just shit now. It's just a bunch of shit. So it's less exciting because shit like that, I'm like, I don't know, there's just fake shit everywhere. I don't know.
So for the first time in more than 20 years, the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences has added a new category in the Oscars. Beginning with the 2026 ceremony, which will honor films released in 2025, the Academy will include a category that honors the best achievement in casting, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Of course, this is the first category introduced to the Oscars since Best Animated Feature in 2022, which honored the best films of 2021. That makes it a pretty big deal. The casting directors branch of the organization was first formed in 2013. It currently has nearly 160 members. Academy CEO Bill Kramer and Academy President Janet Yang had this to say about it in a joint statement. Casting directors play an essential role in filmmaking, and as the Academy evolves, we are proud to add casting to disciplines that we recognize and celebrate. We congratulate our casting directors branch members on the exciting milestone and their commitment and diligence throughout this process. Yeah. So Dylan, what are your thoughts on casting being honored at the Academy Awards going forward?
It depends how they do it. I've got my own idea of how it should be done and what I'd view it as. If it's just you're just like it's just the same people. Like here's all the best actor
It's another
awards,
award for best best.
like
Is
best
it a
actor.
proxy for best ensemble?
Yeah, or best ensemble, right? So, which sometimes best ensemble could be best casting depending on the film and scenario and stuff like that. But if you're like, man, that film where they put Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt together,
who would have guessed putting Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro would get a good movie?
Yeah, like stuff like that. I'm like, that's not like it's just whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's cool. I mean, obviously casting is like a match of underappreciated elements of filmmaking, casting directors get a bunch of shit if somebody's bad in something, but then they rarely get the praise if it's good. It's like one of those disciplines that when it's bad,
the directors get all the
they get all the praise for getting the performances out of the people, not the people who cast them in those roles. So yeah, I mean, it's a cool addition. I think obviously it's kind of while it's great for them, I think a lot of people are probably soured by the fact that there has been a long running push for stunts to be honored at the Academy Awards, and then this hasn't come before stunts, despite the massive push for that category to be added.
And they've been doing stunts longer than casting. I'll tell you right now.
I don't know if that's true.
I think that's true.
Because somebody had to cast those stunt people.
No, they didn't.
They just showed up and said, "I'm in the movie. Deal with it."
Have you seen those old?
I'm going to set myself on fire.
Yeah, I reckon that's how that. I think that's how it happened.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably why this got through before stunts is because it's much easier to know who to award the best stunts, the best casting to. It's casting director.
Right, okay, sorry.
Casting director will get the award. With stunts, it's who's honored. Is it, or is it the actual person performing the stunt?
No. I feel like if they're going to do it at the Oscars, it's the...
I mean, that's probably what is holding things back and then trying to figure out what's the best approach.
Yeah.
Although I feel like if you just got a bunch of people in the room and you're like, hey, should we do this? I'm sure in a few hours they could figure it out.
But I just feel like it's just an ensemble award too, right? So it's like if you give the award to someone, it's like the stunt coordinator comes up, the main stunt people come up. That I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it would be like visual effects. The person who goes up to accept the award for visual effects did not do all the visual effects.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, hopefully stunt Academy Award will be coming in the future. But now that the Best Casting Academy Award is coming, there are so many great films that came out that should have won an Academy Award for Best Casting. So we're going to cover that in this week's Top 3.
Definitely in the Top 3.
So if it wasn't clear, this week's Top 3 is Top 3 films that should retroactively get the Academy Award for Best Casting. Interesting prompt.
It's a very hard prompt, and I hated it. But...
yeah,
there's way too many movies. I don't
know. So you said you've got your own view on what casting should be. Is that reflected in your picks for top 3?
I assume so.
Okay. Well, what's your number 3 then?
I've gone for a mix, right? So that's the thing. I haven't gone for. I just sort of went for 3 films that I think for different reasons, and they're sort of very different sort of films. Number 3, Brokeback Mountain. Casting director was A.V. Kaufman. So I think that movie, 2005, whenever it came out, huge film for multiple reasons. Most prominently for the gay romance in that time in history. And I think casting that film and being able to find the chemistry between the 2 leads to work in a time like that. Again, there's, 20 years later, there's some controversy around they didn't cast gay men, all this sort of stuff. But I think at the time, being able to find that was super important to what made that film highly successful and quote unquote controversial at the time and whatnot.
Okay, good choice. My number 3 is Kick-Ass. Of course, the Matthew Vaughn directed film, casting by Sarah Finn and Lucinda Sison. I think, very well cast film. Kind of unknown lead in Aaron Taylor Johnson, who does fantastic. Well, Aaron Johnson at the time, does a fantastic job. It's a very smart decision to put Nicolas Cage as Big Daddy, and kind of, I don't know if I feel like at that time Nicolas Cage was in a bit of a I don't know, a rut, but like a valley in his career. Maybe not as big as he kind of has been his resurgence lately. But him as Big Daddy, and then like finding Chloe Grace Moretz to play Hit Girl. I think casting children in general is not the easiest thing to do. To find a girl to play that role is super impressive, and and then they also set the precedent of Mark Strong being the bad guy in a bunch of movies. So that's my number 3. Dylan, what's your number 2?
Number 2 is Dunkirk. The casting was John Papsidera and Toby Whale. So this is what I would view as a appropriate ensemble cast that actually isn't just grabbing a bunch of names and successfully putting big name Hollywood actors into a film and calling it a day. Like this, from top to bottom, with so many like small parts and stuff. I mean, you've got like Kenneth Branagh and fucking what's his name? Bane? Tom Hardy. Jesus Christ. So like sort of you got a couple of big names, but they're so spread apart. And like they never share scenes together. It's just sort of carried by else. But like everyone, the main characters in this are all nobodies. You've then got at the time what people believe was like stunt casting of Harry whatever, Styles, yeah, for that and whatever else. But yeah, this would be my sort of idea of like what's a actual like major ensemble cast, bunch of different characters, and this would be it. Mostly unknowns, I feel.
All right. Well, my number 2, I feel like is probably a bit stunt cast. Grand Budapest Hotel.
Okay, so he cast everyone that he's friends with, and he's done with
everybody he's friends with.
So what did the casting director do?
He found Tony Revolori and put Ray Fiennes as the key character. Yeah, and like finding the right small roles for all of Wes Anderson's friends. Casting by Douglas Trumbull. But I feel like Wes Anderson probably had a heavy hand in the casting of this movie. Yeah, just a really good ensemble. Like, getting everybody actually, free at the same time. I'm sure it's not an easy task, casting wise, and convincing them to give up other projects. Like, that's an element of it as well. Convincing them to actually accept the role, rather than doing other things, during your time frame. It's an element. So yeah, that's my number 2.
Certainly an element.
What's your number 1?
My number 1 is mid-90s. The Jonah Hill directed skateboarding film. Casting by Christopher Bolvet. So Sonny Soljic is the lead. Not found here, but basically found as far as film. The one key, the one big person in it is Catherine Watterson, which is sort of we need to cast like a seasoned actor to place at the center of these kids, because although Sonny is an actor, wants to be an actual actor as a kid, the rest of the cast, apart from Alexa Demi, are just dudes, right? They're just kids they found that hadn't acted before. They're basically all skateboarder kids to do it all. So in like casting all them, like trusting that you can make these people or have these people like perform in the film, getting Sonny, and then being able to also cast Catherine Watterson as the trusted adult to on scene sort of be the mum of the film. I think this is a good sign of a really well cast movie to me.
All right, my number 1.
Some Quentin Tarantino movie with fucking a bunch of stars in it. Yep.
The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay. No, I'll allow it. That's fine.
There's a bunch of stars in it.
Not at the time. It's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
Like, what? Ian McKellen, probably the biggest star in that movie.
Yeah.
I guess Elijah Wood, I guess, is
Not
remembered
at
from a
the
bunch of
time.
stuff.
Not at the time.
Like he'd been in a bunch of stuff beforehand. Like he was a child star and that kind of stuff. Same with Sean Astin. But yeah, I think across the board, built a fantastic cast. The choice to actually bring in Viggo Mortensen to play Aragorn, very smart decision. Bunch of actors found, like I feel Orlando Bloom is the first big thing. Kate Blanchett, this is a massive first thing, and this film kind of put like Andy Serkis on the map as a person and as a performer in the industry. So casting was by Victoria Burrows, Amy Hubbard, John Hubbard, Liz Mullane, and Anne Robinson. Just a seminal cast, like and then for him to go on to make another 2 films with that same group, like just perfect casting and should have been recognized. All right, yeah. So that's our top 3. Let's move into giving some thumbs to trailers. Of course, we find all the trailers we're about to talk about in the show notes below. Kicking things off with Knuckles, created by John Whittington and Toby Asher, starring Idris Elba and Adam Pawley. Taking place between the events of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the series follows Knuckles the Echidna as he trains Deputy Sheriff Wade Whipple in the ways of the Echidna Warrior. Tom, what do you think of this Sonic the Hedgehog spin-off series?
Yeah, double thumbs up. Looks great. Looks very funny. The whole part about like the dog battling his arch nemesis and it's the mailman, that got me. So I don't know, just I continue being this way where it's like, it's so funny. Years ago I was like, man, this Sonic franchise in the movie, just like how much drama, like how close they were to fucking it all up. And now we've got 2 decent, like fun movies, and this TV show that looks to carry forth and be good as well. So such a weird alternate history that they could have had for this franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 thumbs up from me as well. Looks like it's gonna be a fun time. Fun little story. It's fun to see, like, get some more Knuckles, I guess, like potentially building him up as a character for the 3rd movie as like a sidekick or whatever. Just fun bits. And obviously it's cool to see. It was cool to see Sonic and Tails, at least in this a little bit. It's not like we pulled Knuckles completely out of the world and has him completely separate because we can't have Sonic and that kind of stuff in the series. It definitely feels a part of that world that they're building. The more Idris Elba Knuckles we can get, the better, I guess. Adam Pawley is a really great and fantastic, so excited for him to get more work. So yeah, and then it's weird. Just the joke of the buyers using Knuckles, quills in the same way that Dr. Robotnik was trying to use Sonic's quills. And then Kid Cudi's like, who says I need your power? And then who was it?
The girl.
Yeah, the girl, Ellie Taylor, is like, that's exactly what we're here to do.
Yeah, we're literally
trying to steal his power.
Yeah.
Very amusing. All right, so Knuckles is coming to Paramount Plus on the 26th of April. 6 episodes long. Next trailer is for The Completely Made Up Adventures of Dick Turpin. Created by Claire Dowes, Ian Jarvis, and Stuart Lane. Starring Noah Fielding, Hugh Bonneville, Asim Chandri, Tasman Grigg, Mark Heap, Ellie White, Joel Wilkinson, and Mark Wooten. Dick Turpin is a legendary British motorway robber whose success is mostly by his charm, showmanship, and great hair. Together with his gang of rogues, he sets out on new adventures, all while trying to escape the clutches of a thief-taker. Tom, what do you think of the trailer for The Completely Made Up Adventures of Dick Turpin?
Double thumbs up. Looks fantastic. There's a bunch of people are liking it. I have no complaints about everything. I can't wait. Noel Fielding, I'm a big fan of the Mighty Boosh and everything. So, looks just it looks weirdly like something he would like. It's definitely his comedy style and everything, but he's like just acting in it. So I don't think he's like involved in any creative fashion, but it definitely feels like his type of stuff. Yeah,
it seems like they knew that he would be. Well, he's executive producing, so maybe he was involved in some regard, but clearly he's not the lead creative, but it feels like he could have been. Is what I'm getting. Yeah, lots of fun times, great, lots of fun jokes. the girl coming up with the peppermint tea with honey, like, I know you got a scratchy vote. We're going to be as mean as every other gang. And then the constant jokes about Dick and the innuendos. Very funny. Because we're all children at heart, you know. So, the completely made up adventures of Dick Turpin is coming to Apple TV Plus on the 1st of March. Next trailer is for The Regime, created by Will Tracy, starring Kate Winslet, Andrea Riseborough, Matthias Schoenaerts, Martha Plimpton, Gumel Galeen, and Hugh Grant. The series depicts a year within the palace of a crumbling authoritarian regime. After not leaving the palace for quite some time, Chancellor Eleanor Vernon becomes increasingly paranoid and unstable and turns to a volatile soldier, Herbert Vubach, as an unlikely confidant. As Zubach's influence over the Chancellor grows, Elena's attempts to expand her power eventually result in the palace and country fracturing around her. Dylan, what do you think of the trailer for The Regime?
Double thumbs up. I'm going to assume this is one of the best TV shows of the year.
I think that's a safe bet. It's probably a safe bet. The Kate Winslet's going to win another best actress in a limited series.
Yep, I think so.
It's got that vibe to it, you know, and just yeah, just, you know,
I think it's very smart to also just said it. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, it's just a fictional place.
It's a fictional, but clearly it's influenced by what's going on
in the world. So like you can do a lot without actually pushing.
It's weird. It's also weird that it feels current when I believe this has been shot like over a year ago. So they've kind of been waiting for a slot to put it in. Yeah, Kate Winslet looks fantastic. The supporting cast looks really good. Just kind of the ridiculousness of some of it as well, and like her reprimanding her cabinet while in the bath full of ice.
Just do things that I like better, and then I won't have to kill you.
Yeah, you know,
it's pretty sure.
Seems right. So this one is coming to binge on the 4th of March. Next trailer is for Manhunt, created by Monica Boletsky, starring Tobias Menzies, Anthony Boyle, Lovey Simone, Matt Walsh, Brendan Flynn, Betty Gabriel, Will Harrison, Hamish Linklater, Damien O'Hare, Patton Oswalt, and Lily Taylor. After the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, his Secretary of War and friend Edwin Stanton begins the manhunt to track down John Wilkes Booth as it drives him mad. Dylan, what do you think of this sequel series to Lincoln?
I'm gonna double thumbs up. Well, actually, no, I'll go 1 up, 1 down. Actually, I'm gonna be a little bit like, it looks good, but doesn't look like anything I haven't really seen before. Like this story has been covered multiple times, multiple films and stuff like that. So yeah,
like
it looks good. Like, isn't there literally a film that's, I can't remember what it's called, it's from like the mid 2000s, assassination of Lincoln, or no, whatever, like killing Lincoln, something like that. And then you've got Lincoln, and then you've got, there's a TV show about John Wilkes Booth, but I can't remember what that was called. That came out like a couple of years ago, and that was like 3 episodes. Came out probably like early 2010s. There's been other stuff they've covered this without focusing on it, like sub-narrative stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like such a common, not like, it's just a very well-known piece of history, right? So what are we bringing to the table here, I guess, is my question. And hopefully, I guess, at least teased in the trailer, is a bigger focus on making it sort of feel, because ultimately this story is about a ruptured sort of ideal. This is about a ruptured time in American history, two very alternative, very different sides. And the reason John Wilkes Booth wants to kill Lincoln is basically because he's a fucking racist. Not Lincoln, but Wilkes. Because he's but we're also living. It's weirdly like if the series has like a take on, hey, let's like look at the events of history, but also weirdly, this sort of shit could nearly happen again now. I feel like that could be an interesting way to sort of direct to the show because when you look at Trump and everything, it's sort of feeling similar in America at the moment. So, yeah, I think the cast looks good and everything. At first I was like Patton Oswalt, really, but he looks fine in the trailer. Yeah, I'll go one up one day.
I'll give it 2 thumbs up. I think it looks like a really good period piece. I haven't seen like a faithfully told story of John Wilkes Booth, like reading from Wikipedia. Like the last big one I want to say is The Conspirator by Robert Redford, where he was portrayed by Kobe Kebbell back in 2010. There was the Killy Lincoln telemovie in 2013. And then
What was that TV show I was thinking of?
I have no idea. It's not listed here. Unless you're including the 2019 web television series Blame the Hero.
I know what that is.
Although, interesting to read from this article that James Marsden played John Wilkes Booth in a flashback cameo in Zoolander in 2001.
Wow. Okay.
If you can all remember that. But yeah, interesting time period, a story that I don't feel has been told consistently. And like kind of, I feel like they're kind of fleshing out the idea of there being a bigger conspiracy in behind. It is an interesting idea that this actor decided to murder the president,
Well,
just on a base level,
Yeah, he did, but I don't know. Like, depending on how much I'm like, am I spoiling history? But I'm like, he's part of a larger group of people. He didn't like just do it by himself.
So, I think it looks really interesting. So this one is coming to Apple TV Plus on the 15th of March. Final trailer for this week is Twisters, directed by Lee Isaac Chung, starring Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, Anthony Ramos, Maura Turney, Brandon Pereira, Daryl McCormack, Sasha Lane, Kiernan Shipka, and Nick Dodaney. Haven't got a really good description. A pair of storm chasers who risk their lives in an attempt to test an experimental weather alert system. Dylan, what did you think of the trailer for Twisters?
Is that really? Oh, of course it is.
Well, that's what I read from.
I watched Twister for the first time like a year or two ago. So, sure. Like I feel like I've just watched a movie and a couple years later, like we're making a new one. So, and watching the trailer for this is very obvious. I'm like, oh yeah, like you're like the scientist girl character, and that's the bad boy character. Like it's all very similar archetypes of the characters, I guess, to the first film. It's very funny that they're just like there's 2 Twisters now, and that's the big that's the big thing. But you know
2
what?
twists at the same time.
I'm down for a big scale what do you call
Disaster
this?
movie.
Disaster movie. Sure. We don't really get them anymore. Not if you want to count like Sharknado and stuff. So
Okay, here's a better description. A former storm chaser haunted by a devastating encounter with a tornado during her college years, who now studies storm patterns on screens safely in New York City. She is lured back to the open lands by her friend Yavi, who is testing a groundbreaking new tracking system. There she crosses paths with Tyler Owen, the charming and reckless social media superstar who thrives on posting his storm-chasing adventures with his raucous crew, the more dangerous the better. As storm season intensifies, terrifying phenomena never seen before are unleashed, and Kate, Tyler, and the competing teams find themselves squarely in the paths of multiple storm systems converging over central Oklahoma in the fight of their lives. That's a much more exciting description.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks good. I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up. Again, disaster movies is a genre that used to dominate the box office that we haven't seen in a while. This one looks good. I feel like some of the updates and like technological stuff, and like there's the shot of him drilling his car down into the ground so it doesn't get scooped up by the storm. That's an interesting idea. I think the idea is they'll throw a bunch of drones into a twister and that would stop it. I don't know if that's going to become a plot point, and then we've got to stop these twisters from becoming twisters, And I'm on the Gunpowder bandwagon at the moment. Okay, I'm excited to see him and everything. Him as the bad boy storm chasing influencer, that just works for me. So 2 thumbs up. Excited to check it out. This one is coming to cinemas on 19th of July. So look forward to that. Dylan, this week, what do you want to watch?
God fucking damn it. Oh, fucking sake. How do I keep forgetting? Bob Marley One Love would be my pick for the film side of stuff this week. I see absolutely nothing happening in the world of television, so I'll keep on watching True Detective, which I see some people turning on, but you're wrong. The show's still good.
All right. I want to watch, and I'm going to watch
bullshit.
Madam Web. Let's see about them spiders in the Amazon.
Yeah.
Let's watch the main movie of the year. You know, that's what we want.
The only good thing to come out of this is bringing a press tour. I'm telling you right now.
I mean, so many good things. You know,
Dakota Johnson just like talking shit on the film while somehow promoting it. It's great.
Yeah, talking about stuff. Sydney Sweeney on Hot Ones. You know, it's just making people happy left and right. You know, this film has given so much to the world, and we need to give back by go watch it. You know.
Sure.
I think that's fair. TV front, yeah, not a lot this week. I think I might check out the first episode of the New Look, which is the Apple TV Plus series about Christian Dior. That's the only big release this week that I can see right in front of me. Or maybe I'll check out Dynasty, the New England Patriots, which is a documentary about the New England Patriots football team. Fantastic time to jump into that now that the football season's over for football fans. Let us know what you want to watch this week by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump to Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars on anywhere you can leave 5 stars. Or just tell people about the show. And if you've enjoyed this episode, Thor's worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.